I was in college, I drank a lot. In fact, I drank so much, I'm retired from drinking now. My friends and I would go hard, and I would often black out. But I would still walk, and I'd still talk, and I'd still order taxis and get an Uber, call friends. But there's one thing I did quite often, and that was walk to a local fast food joint. We'll call it Taco Shell. I'd walk to Taco Shell after the bars 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and I would crave those 50-cent tacos. And I would only crave them when I was wasted, when I was blacked out. I'd wake up the next morning hating life. I would look in my pocket and I'd see a receipt for 53 tacos, 50 cents a piece. Wasn't that bad. But I would go downstairs, my roommates would say, Cody, dude, you ate 53 tacos by yourself last night. I had no memory eating them. I didn't know I ate them. I don't even remember making those decisions, but no one forced me. I was making choices. The Taco Shell employee did not force me against my will, because I walked up to the stand and I looked at the menu and I communicated exactly what I wanted. I want 53 tacos, please. I took out my debit card. I paid for the tacos, and then they gave them to me and I ate them. The Taco Shell employee did not force me to eat the tacos. I made the decision freely to the conduct at issue, eating tacos. That's what's important. A blacked out person can consent. Just because you don't remember the events doesn't mean you did not consent. There are so many other variables and facts that are required to understand before you can determine whether or not you are a victim of a crime. Now, let me make this clear. You should not sleep with someone who is so drunk and you're not. You're taking advantage. I'm talking about the law, and I'm trying to clear up some of the ambiguities regarding alcohol and consent here, especially in the military and the briefs they put out with the wrong information and the wrong law. The law says a sleeping, unconscious, or incompetent person cannot consent. That's simple. But did you know a blacked out person can still consent? That's right, a blacked out person is not someone who falls under the sleeping category or the unconscious category or the incompetent category, because a blacked out person can still make choices and still freely choose to engage in certain activities. Let me break it down. There is a difference between blacked out and being passed out. Often, people get them mixed up. They think blacked out means they're passed out. When you're passed out, you literally are out. You're not responding to people, not responding to your environment. You can't walk, you can't talk. If someone pokes you so hard and you barely respond, you're out. That's a clear, bright line rule. But blacking out isn't in those categories. A person can drink so much that they black out, meaning the part of the brain that's in charge of recording memories turns off. This is where it gets tricky, because when someone's blacked out, they don't have a magic light that blinks or flashes above their head telling other people they're blacked out. Telling other people their mind is not recording any memory of this interaction. Although that person's still walking and talking and engaging in their environment and ordering another beer or flirting, there is no indicator for us to pick up on someone being blacked out. But they can still freely make decisions. And that's what's important, because the legal definition of consent is a freely given agreement to the conduct at issue by a competent person. Thank you, legalese, for making it difficult. It means if that person can make their own choices and they do so, they've consented. Blacked out people can still make choices. Passed out people cannot. A blacked out person can still consent. A blacked out person can also not consent. If you can make a choice to do something, you can also make a choice not to do something. So if you wake up and you have no memory of the night before, you have no memory of consenting to the intimate relation, please know that doesn't mean you didn't consent. Please know that doesn't mean you did consent. There are so many other facts and variables that you need to get a proper understanding of before you go out there and you make an allegation, before you start slinging the words SA around. What choices were you making? What choices were you communicating? What things were you saying no to? How are you being treated? What did you communicate? What did you communicate verbally? What did you communicate non-verbally? This is not victim blaming. This is meant to educate people that just because they had a drink doesn't mean they didn't consent. And just because they don't remember because they drank so much also doesn't mean they didn't consent. They need to get the facts before they make the allegations. People's lives and liberty are at stake. And when we teach service members the wrong law and the wrong standard, it creates a system of increased allegations. It creates a system where people start to believe they are victims when they're not. It creates a system that young men and women doing what young men and women have done since the beginning of time, drink alcohol and get to know each other, becomes a toxic environment of allegations. SA is a problem in the military, but it's not going to be solved by lowering the bar to what it actually means. Because we can teach service members that the boogeyman is scary, that self-care is going to make them go blind or give them hairy palms, that one drink means you cannot consent. But when it comes to a court-martial, the legal definitions count and matter. And now you're talking about lawyers, you're talking about cross-examination, you're talking about a jury, a panel, you're talking about really breaking down what happened. And it's going to be traumatic for everyone involved, for both sides of the courtroom. For the person who truly believes that they're a victim because they don't remember, and for the person who's accused of the crime, who thought he or she honestly was making the same choices their counterpart was making at the time. Service members are adults. They need to be taught the right standards and taught the right law.